Here's how to add open captions in the editing app CapCut. So let's get straight into it. It's really, really simple. I've got my project open with my completed video. Everything's ready. I don't need to do any more edits to it, which is important because I don't really want to create captions and then have to edit again, although you can do that. So I'm ready to go. I come to the bottom toolbar where you can see third in from the left, we've got T for text. Just want to tap onto text, and then third from the left again, auto captions. Click on that. Here are the options in terms of your input values here. So we've got original sound on the top menu there. If there was some music or backing track, I would be able to select for it just to isolate the voiceover. But this is just a voiceover track, so this is grayed out. So original sound, I want it in English. The source language is English. You can choose whatever your source language is and it will hear that. And this is a handy one that I always leave on. Identify filler words and pauses. Does exactly what it says in the tin. If I say M or it will just ignore that. It won't create text or a caption for that, so you don't have to go and edit it out afterwards. Dynamic captions, I tend to leave these off, but you can play around with it, put it on. That really just means that the captions appear one word at a time and it looks more dynamic. It looks kind of like animated. It kind of jumps out the screen at you. It works well for some styles of videos, but for this style of video, it's a little bit distracting. Once you're ready to go, you just press start. And there you can see the file being created. It doesn't take long. Very, very quick and very, very accurate. So now the file's ready. You can see that it's pretty accurate. The spelling's looking good. The one thing that CapCut doesn't quite identify yet is sentences. Full stops and capital letters. If you're picky about that, which I tend to be, you're going to have to go through and edit all of them. If you've seen the video on Adobe Premiere Pro where you can auto-generate captions, you'll see the software there is more advanced, but that's something you're paying for. But this is pretty good. The first step though, before I edit, we've just got this select all button, and I'm going to use that first of all to format my captions, to decide what colour, what size, etc. that I want it. It looks nice how it is, and you could just leave it on the default, but if we select all and then come down to the bottom right, A for edit, we can see on the timeline there all the brown boxes, that's the caption files, and they're all highlighted in white. That means whatever edits I make here are going to be applied to all of those captions. So I can change my font. You can see the menus in the middle there. We've got font, style, effects, animation, bubble. And you can just choose the ones that are relevant to you. You're probably mainly only going to use font and style. So you could choose Helvetica font and then come to style. That's where you'll make the most changes. You can choose some of these block text at the top if you want something quite bright and eye-catching for social media, or just turn that off by pressing the circle on the left and just come down to more standard formatting. You can see the menu here: text, stroke, canvas, that's the background, shadow, spacing, and bold or italic. So all the usual formatting you'd expect to find in a Word document or anywhere else. So when we've got text highlighted, obviously we're then changing the colour of the text from this colour spectrum. I'm just going to go back to white. And if you scroll down, you can change the size of the text with the slider and also the opacity or the transparency of the text. While still on style, I can come to stroke, and that's the outline around the words. I'll maybe make sure that's taken off. And the canvas is probably the next one that I would most likely work with. So the canvas is the background. You could add a nice grey background to it, and once you've selected that, if we just scroll down a bit, you can maybe take some opacity off that, bring it down maybe to 60%, so it's a bit see-through. Corner radius, you can make the corners rounded. I'll just turn the opacity up a bit so you can see it. So you can make it a bit softer, a bit rounded. You can change the height so that it stands out a bit more, the width. There's all sorts of parameters that you can play around with and manipulate until you get the exact look that you want. As I said, there's the effects tool. You can add all sorts of fancy stuff if you're going for something quite bold for social media. You can add animations to your captions. You could even make it a comic book style caption with bubble fonts. But I'm going to keep it simple, leave it at that. So once I'm happy with the formatting, I'm going to edit the words, check for grammar and spelling and so on. I'll come back to the timeline and I'm just going to pinch outwards to zoom in on the timeline and tap on my first caption to select it, and you'll see that by selecting that first caption in white, down in the bottom the toolbar changes, and now I've got the batch edit. And this is my starting point for changing the spelling and grammar and so on. So the first thing I want to change is I want to put a capital letter on if, and to do that I just double tap, and then if you're on a phone you use your finger. I'm on an iPad, so I can just use the keyboard to move the cursor along with the arrows and put in the capital letter. If you're making videos on your smartphone, then you need to get a good microphone, and I want a full stop after microphone, so double tap there and put in my full stop. And then I want a capital letter, so double tap on that, and there we go. And you just keep on working through, get all your grammar right, particularly check brand names. The iRig Love Mic is what's been put in here. This should be the iRig Lav Mic, and iRig is spelt like that. So check everything. Once you're happy with it, press on the arrow on the right hand side, and that's you got all your captions ready to export. You export from the top right hand side here, the upward facing arrow. You can double check beside that just that your settings are okay with this drop down menu. 1080p 30 frames per second, that's fine. Tap the arrow and it will export the video. Don't lock your screen while it's exporting, and once that is exported, it will be on my camera photo roll ready for me to double check once again before uploading to social media with all the captions burned on, and I don't need to edit or create captions anywhere else. So it's a great time saver. It's completely free for iOS and Android, and like I say, you can also access it on a desktop or on your browser, so it's a very versatile tool. I would say that there are disadvantages to having burnt on captions. I've made some videos about that. If you've got burned on captions, they can't be read by the search engine, so it does make it less easy for your videos to be found, but it is a fantastic time saver, and it really does save you checking grammar multiple times. Let's go to the camera roll, and you see the version of the video I begun to edit with the formatting, the way that I put it in. Now we're ready to upload to all my social media channels.